Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Footy Banter and Insights. Today we have a very special episode discussing Champions League, the old format, the new format, the nuances, and we understand, how it will affect European football as a whole. So, giving a quick overview of how the Champions League has evolved, as I'm sure you would have seen Ibra's video on the live air streaming as well. Earlier, it was a very simple format. In the main stages, there were 8 groups of 4, and the top 2 qualified to the next round. Then there were the knockout phase, and then eventually there was a finalist. And I think there is a big reason why this format has come into place. So this format is known as the Swiss model, the Swiss format. And the way it works is that UEFA wanted to include more teams in the Champions League. So when they wanted to go from 32 to 36 teams, they want to revamp a lot of the things in the competition. Some of the important things which come in now is that UEFA works on country coefficients. The top 4 countries have representation of, the top 5 countries have representation of 4 teams each presently. And if we go by that coefficients, the teams with the top 2 of the entire rankings, they will now be allowed another team in the Champions League. So let's say if we look at last year, so Germany got 5 teams in the Champions League because of their coefficient ranking. And this ranking will change every year based on the performances in European competition. So in the Champions League, in the Europa League, in the Europa Conference League, every match actually matters. And again, just a brief overview of what happens in 24-25 Champions League is that now there are 4 pots containing 8 teams each, and each team is drawn with 2 opponents from each pot. So they play 8 teams overall, and it's a league format wherein there are 36 teams in the Champions League main league phase, and then it boils down to the next phase of the competition. So what I'll do is I'll open up the discussion to Varun, Manan and Ishan, and then we will add some points individually. So let's start with Varun. Varun, what is your view on the new Champions League?
I actually like it. I feel it's actually way more competitive. You will end up watching a lot of interesting games in this case. And it's not as if in the group stages, a team is playing only 3 teams, right? They are facing 8 different teams. I think it's going to be way more interesting and way more competitive than your old format.
Absolutely. And I think the engineering side of your brain is looking at all the permutations, combinations of how things can evolve.
There are way more permutations, right? So like if you went to the old format, when the group stages came out, you were already sure in every group, apart from one group or 2 max, that you know which teams are going to qualify. In this case, I think there are a lot more permutation combinations that can happen. There's a lot more ifs and buts that can actually make it very, very interesting.
Absolutely. Manan, what's your view?
So I think I have a slightly different opinion, wherein I think that the better teams will play more games against better teams. Like good teams will play good teams more. And that was one of the key ideas behind this new format, that it's sort of a competitor to the Super League that was floated a couple of years back. That good teams want to play good teams because the revenue is high. But eventually, because of having a playoff after the league stage, like after phase 1, phase 2 is the playoff, where 8 to 24 they have a playoff amongst each other. Because of that, eventually the 16 teams that would qualify from this phase 1 and that would possibly have qualified from the Champions League, like the old format group stages, would largely be similar. Because some teams, let's say a team has a difficult draw where they have got like all 8 top 2 seeds from different pots. So they have essentially a difficult draw compared to the rest of the other teams. But they will still have a chance if they finish 8 to 16 to qualify again, and they'll probably be stronger than most of the other playoff teams. So I feel the format is interesting for fans because you get to see more high-profile games. But eventually, the end result for round of 16 may not change as much as what we think it should. And UEFA rakes in the money, and I feel the career of players is just going to reduce more because of the number of matches going there.
Fair enough. That's a fair point. Just to understand, Manan, when we look at the standings of people from 9th position till 24th position playing a knockout format, will this be a two-legged knockout or will this be a single knockout tie?
It will be a two-legged knockout match.
It'll be a two-legged knockout match.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
So then again, the better team would normally win with
Very
them.
true.
And there's no away goals rule as well. So.
Correct. And Ishan, what's your view on this?
I think I kind of like the format. The thing is, I think merit-wise, earlier also better teams used to qualify, and I think what Maran is saying कि इस बार भी same होने वाला है. So merit-wise, I think it doesn't change much. Even though the format is very different, but end of the day, what as football fans, better footballing teams will reach better positions in the Champions League. So I think that's a fair. That's how it should happen, right? Like, not that, but in this format, the matches that are drawn or the goal difference will matter a lot. So that gives a better advantage to the weaker teams. I could, like, if you look at in the broader way, weaker teams can rather look at drawing some matches or they have a better chance at it. And for example, even smaller teams, like more small teams, will have a global fan following, like that will increase, right? Real Madrid, everyone knows them in Europe and their fan following is massive. But if you look at it from that commercial standpoint, I think some small teams will travel more. Their fan bases or their someone like a RB Salzburg, for example, they will get to travel to 7 different cities, 3 to 4 bigger clubs they will play against. So they will get a more global footage that you see. Like, that's the right word, I think. So that way it is quite good. The only thing which is not good is for the players, because 8 matches and then again teams finishing from 8th to 24th, they will have to play again 2-legged knockouts. I think day by day, I think we will see the footballing rosters of the teams getting increased. Right from, I think now, earlier 4 to 5 players were the core players in the team. I think that will increase to 6 to 7, 7 to 8 or something like that. So having more players is going to be key. Managing workload is going to be key. Whichever teams does that in a better way will have a better season. So
good time to be a Chelsea fan.
Yeah, there's a lot apart from the work on the pitch also. Like, obviously 11 players have to play well together, but now I think earlier it used to be 15, now it will be like 18 to 20 players getting involved in Premier League or any domestic leagues as well as the European competition. So I think that's a good start.
You know, one thing that this format does is it makes winning a treble or a quadruple so much more difficult. Because competing on 4 different fronts with the same size of squad and the same quality of squad is more difficult. And because of this, perhaps we might see that the richer clubs might start stockpiling really good players a lot more, because players will get more opportunities to play.
I agree with that. The only difficult thing will be for a fan, because earlier they knew which teams are they going to face in the next 2 or 3 months in a group stage match. Like, you can assume that if there's a home match against, for example, a PSG, there will be an away match against PSG the next week. Now tracking those matches will be a lot more trickier for fans of the club involved in the Champions League. So we have some advantage.
Yeah.
We have escaped that problem.
For the next few seasons, maybe.
It's not our headache anymore.
But you have the squad to play the Champions League.
Yeah, we do. We can loan you players. Then United requires silver or something.
First, let us qualify first.
So, some of the very important points which come out is key. As a fan, when I was watching Champions League earlier, 2-3 things stood out. One is, in a group stage after the first 2 or 3 games, most of the groups are kind of decided automatically. So there's no reason to watch the games till the end. Second, there's a big gap between the end of the group phase and the start of the knockout phase. Now, because of the new format, there will be continuous Champions League football from September mid, which is around 17th September, till the end of the season. There will be no gap at all. And I think, again, for fans, it's actually very motivating because you are staying connected to the entire situation, right? Like someone like a German league fan, they have a huge gap during the Christmas period. But even then, now they have to be very cognizant that a new Champions League match is just around the corner. So they cannot take such a big break anymore. And the other thing which comes out is key from a team's perspective. Let's say even if I qualify at number 24 position, I still have a chance theoretically to win the Champions League, which earlier would never have been the case.
But
So you may have...
fair. Like having 8 games and qualifying at 24, like you got 8 chances, which is good enough. And then you still get that another opportunity to sort of qualify through playoffs. I feel if they would have just not had the playoffs, the top 16 qualify for round of 16, that makes it sportingly more fair for me.
Okay.
I agree to that point. I also would have preferred if it was a top 16 directly qualifying to the next round instead of going first 8 and then the next 16 are playing a playoff for the following round. I feel top 16 should have been true.
This is like a fail-safe logic.
Like other top 16, like teams between 12 to 18, they will be so close to each other, like hardly 1 point here and there or the goal difference here and there.
But that's the fun part.
I prefer this format, the one that they are.
But that's the fun part, right? Like that's the fun part that I mean, like I would want to watch that competition that happens, and people fighting for 1 point, people fighting for goal difference, and
I think that will still happen. I think that will still happen.
Turning around to actually see which teams actually go through. That is the fun.
But that it was a lot more luck element to it. But in the current format, it was more towards merit than luck.
Yeah, I think for 8 matches, then luck is out of the window, right? Like it's not a small matches. 8
matches, but then you are competing against 6 teams. So, but it's not easy. You are competing.
It's not supposed to be easy.
Like if you have 9 teams and you have 8 matches compared to 36 teams and 8 matches, it's a very big difference.
Like there has to be some
definitely bigger or there are no knockouts.
I kind of agree to Madan's point that if you're ending at 23rd or 24th, right? Why do you need another chance? Why? And suppose the team is ending 9th or 10th, right? The team ending 9th, 10th has done so much of effort during the group stages, won matches, whereas team ending 23rd, 24th has kind of not done so well during group stages, and then suddenly team 9th meets 24th, and then if the 9th
is right? If the team is
finishing 9th has a bad game or a bad day, I mean, it's just they're out, right?
If it's a 2-legged format, I think the teams have to kind of outperform them. Like the only advantage which I see is like a David versus Goliath kind of a clash, wherein theoretically it may be possible for someone in let's assume in the past, let's say someone like an FC Sheriff, they could have made the quarters, which earlier it was almost never going to be the case. And I think that emotional, fairy tale kind of a story, I think that is, people will have hope, right? Like today, let's say Chelsea is not playing in the Champions League, and I have no allegiance to any of the other clubs unless, I want England to do well so that at least there is a chance of that fifth team, coming through. But in case there is a underdog story which is happening, I may be all in for that.
But we'll discuss specific teams at a later stage.
Sure.
But I wanted to use, I will use this one team's example, which I think fits very well here, and how the playoffs might actually be way bad for them. But we'll discuss that later. But I feel that the jeopardy in the format is not there. There has to be some risk for the good teams, right? Now they know that if they finish, like, let's say a big team finishes 24, and let's say a team like Bratislava or something, like, it's very far-fetched, but let's say they finish 9. but a big team is like
they get more chances.
right?
Yeah.
And at a two-legged match against a single team, they're likely going to win without even the away goals rule and everything. So I feel the jeopardy in the format is not like for big teams to not qualify.
Fair point. Yes, any closing comments on this, guys? On the Champions League format, draws, any nuances that you see other than this?
So I think like just a comment on the format. Even though I personally do not like the format because of the stress it puts on football players, and in fact I think the Fifth Pro has sort of filed a legal case against FIFA in CAS regarding this, that you increasing just too many number of matches. So, but I think that is sort of the evolution of football. Like there was a time when we had the European Cup, which had only the champions of a certain number of leagues playing, and then they wanted to expand it because number of big teams in the big leagues increased. So only one team from England was qualifying, and let's say an Aston Villa or a Nottingham Forest wins the league, then all the other big teams are not qualifying. So to include all of them, they have created a different format, and then the 32 team Champions League came. And now if you see, they're increasing 4 teams, but essentially like 2 teams are going for coefficients of the, let's say, the 5 major leagues, right? And the other 2 teams are also going to be based on coefficients only, one from the Champions route and one from the overall coefficient table route. So you will not really see many other small teams qualify. Like the 4 teams that qualified, 2 of them were from, I think, Germany and Italy. The other 2 were Shakhtar and Benfica, who are already Champions League regulars. So this format is catered to involve more big teams. Surprisingly, or sort of ironically, in fact, none, like England and Spain, did not get the 2 spots, which is what the aim was eventually, right? So this is evolution of football. I think for a fan, it's brilliant. For a fan, you will get to see more exciting games. From an overall ecosystem point of view, I'm not very happy.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm looking at this purely as a fan. So I love the idea of seeing the top teams play early on. And I think in terms of competitiveness and in terms of tactics, earlier I knew that, okay, fine, I'm going to be facing 3 teams home and away. There's less preparation, everything is organized. Now it's like heavy metal, right? Every week I have to prepare in a very different manner. So imagine, let's say specifically Man City. Now, if Man City are facing, let's say, a Bournemouth away, and then suddenly they have to travel to a different part of the world, face another away game, come back home, face a normal Premier League game, it'll be back to back to back. I think from a coach's point of view, it'll really help them shine through.
But there's no time to coach. You're playing and traveling, right? So there's no real time to coach as such at the top level anymore. Pre-season is getting smaller and smaller because of more tournaments in the summer. The summer break's going to go away. There's a match every week or every 3 days, essentially. So there's no time to coach anymore. Like, I think there'll be like more Ancelotti type of managers who are perceived to be less good tactically, but great man
manager.
And I think such kind of managers might thrive a lot more than, like, let's say a Conte. You know, that's what I feel.
So again, like similar to UV, I'm thinking of it from a very like a fan perspective, right? So I am very intrigued that how many different teams can Arsenal play in the group stages. So in the previous format, we would probably play one good team in the group stage and probably one good team in the round of 16 and then get knocked out. Right? That's Arsenal. So we can play 2 good teams and that's our Champions League, right? At least this year, we can actually play at least 4 good teams in the group stages, probably get, like a good one in the playoff or round of 16. And I feel as a fan, I would enjoy that much more. I would want my team, I would want to see Arsenal play a lot more top quality, different European teams, right? And that's just looking at it from a fan point.
Okay, great, guys. So, Varun, do you want to help with the outros?
Yes. Thank you for watching, guys. Please kick the like button, comment, subscribe, and share. Thank you. and see you guys soon.